Oh no, we can't go. Oh, but I want to go. Welcome to the inner sanctum of Terrie's parts. You've reached Talking with Dr. Terrie, 180 Seconds to a Better You. Message number 53. I'm Dr. Terrie Wurzbacher, and this call is dedicated to Lisa in North Carolina. I'm very shy. I don't like having to go to events, no matter what kind, whether they're personal or business related. But going back to our first IFS, Internal Family Systems, lessons last week, there's a definite part of me that really does want to go. This came into play on Sunday. The current CEO of the abode home is leaving, and they had a get-together for her on Sunday. I really wanted to go because she's been so supportive. However, you can't possibly imagine how difficult it was for me to decide to go. So here's how it went, and this is how I use IFS on an almost daily basis. A protector kept me from going to these things, always coming up with a legitimate excuse and a reason. He was shouting the following: I don't want to go. People will laugh at me. No one will like me. I don't know anyone. I'll be a wallflower, and on and on. I was able to go into what's called self. This is one way self is described. Self is the innate presence within each person that is the pure essence of who they are. It is inherently good and whole and cannot be broken or corrupted. Once I got into the role of self, I asked this protector some questions. What is your role? He answered, to keep you from being laughed at, embarrassed, feeling stupid. His primary job was to keep me from being rejected and abandoned because I couldn't survive. The safest way to do this was just to stay home and away from people, no matter what it took. So Self then asked, what would happen if you don't fulfill this role? Protector, you'd be crushed and never recover. You'd be so scared you'd never want to interact with anyone else again. The protector was sure that if he didn't keep me away from these situations, I'd experience rejection and abandonment, and he just knew I couldn't survive that. Self. First, I thanked him for taking care of me for all these years, then I updated it. I let him know I wasn't 4 years old anymore and that I had developed better coping mechanisms to keep me from being rejected or abandoned. I told him I could turn around and come home if I got there and was still too scared, or I could just stay for a few minutes. I also reminded him I knew a couple of people, so it wasn't an all-or-nothing situation. These are options now available that weren't there when I was 4 years old. The protector was surprised. Remember, they don't grow even though we do. He still thought we were all 4 years old. I then asked him if he'd eventually like a different role, perhaps as a consultant. He hesitated but nodded his head a bit tentatively. I then asked if he could step back a bit so he could see what I did but could be there in case I needed help. He agreed. As a result, I was able to go to the party and I had a fantastic time. 4 years ago even, I wouldn't have been able to consider going.